All Muslim people are Arab or Middle Eastern. Islam originated in the Middle East, but only about 20% of the world's Muslims live there. As of 2024, there are 2 billion Muslims globally. The largest Muslim population resides in Indonesia, a Southeast Asian country, rather than any Middle Eastern country. Projections indicate that by 2050, India, located in South Asia, will have the largest Muslim population. In the United States, the Muslim population is diverse, with 75% of U.S. Muslim adults having lived in the country since before 2000. The American Muslim population includes 30% identifying as white, 23% as black, 21% as Asian, 6% as Hispanic, and 19% as other or mixed race, making it significantly younger and more racially diverse than the U.S. population as a whole. Islam is a violent religion, and Muslims identify with terrorism. Extremism is not unique to Islam. It exists in every religion and ideology. While some extremists have committed acts of violence in the name of Islam, they represent a minority within the Muslim community. The vast majority of Muslims reject such violence and view it as a distortion of their faith. A 2015 Pew Research Center study found that people in 11 countries with significant Muslim populations overwhelmingly expressed negative views of ISIS. Islam, like other Abrahamic religions, has a range of interpretations and practices. Terrorists often use radical interpretations of Islamic texts, which were intended to regulate warfare in the early days of Islam, and apply them to modern contexts. Islam is fundamentally a religion of peace, with the word Islam derived from the Arabic term salam, meaning peace. The Quran, Islam's holy scripture, emphasizes this principle in various passages. One such verse states, "Whoever kills an innocent person, it is as if he has killed all of humanity." Quran 5:32. This highlights the sanctity of human life and the importance of peace and justice. It's essential to differentiate the actions of a few extremists from the teachings of Islam. Extremists distort Islamic teachings for their own agendas, but they do not represent the faith as a whole. The majority of Muslims around the world advocate for compassion, justice, and peaceful coexistence. Understanding this helps combat the stereotype that Islam inherently promotes violence. Despite the perception that Muslim leaders do not condemn terrorism enough, there have been numerous condemnations from Muslim heads of state, politicians, and religious leaders worldwide. For example, after the 2015 terrorist attacks in France, countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Qatar, and Egypt led condemnations of the attacks. Thousands of Muslim clerics have issued fatwas against terrorist organizations such as ISIS, the Taliban, and Al-Qaeda, rejecting their claims to be Muslim organizations. In the U.S., the number of hate crimes targeting Muslims increased from 135 in 2013 to 154 in 2014, indicating a rise in Islamophobia and the need to recognize that terrorism is committed by extremists from various backgrounds, not just those identifying as Muslim. You can't be Muslim and be patriotic to America. A 2017 study stated that there are an estimated 3.45 million Muslims in the U.S., comprising about 1.1% of the total population. A 2011 Gallup poll found that the majority of Muslim Americans feel loyal to the United States and optimistic about its future, despite facing bias and discrimination. A 2011 Pew study reported that most Muslim Americans, 56%, believe that Muslims who come to the U.S. want to adopt American customs and ways of life. Additionally, 69% of Muslim Americans identify strongly with the U.S., while 65% identify with their religion. According to a 2013 Pew study, most Muslim Americans, 63%, believe there is no inherent conflict between being devout and living in a modern society. Similarly, 64% of American Christians felt the same. Islam oppresses women and forces them into a subservient role. The Quran explicitly states that men and women are equal in the eyes of Allah and provides women with several rights, such as the right to refuse marriage proposals, seek education, and initiate divorce in certain circumstances. However, the interpretation and implementation of these rights vary widely across different cultures and countries. While some Muslim-majority countries have practices that subjugate and oppress women, such as forced marriages, restricted mobility, and deprivation of education, these practices are not inherently Islamic but rather cultural. Many contemporary Muslim women and men advocate for a reinterpretation of the Quran that emphasizes gender equality. The hijab, often cited as a symbol of oppression, is a complex issue. The Quran directs both men and women to dress modestly, but how this is interpreted varies greatly. In some countries, women are forced to wear the hijab, but in many cases, particularly in the U.S., women choose to wear it for personal reasons, such as a sense of pride in their Muslim identity or to maintain self-control in public life. Women in Muslim-majority countries have also held significant leadership roles. Since 1988, 8 countries have had Muslim women as heads of state, including Turkey, Indonesia, Senegal, Kosovo, Kyrgyzstan, Bangladesh, 2 different women, Pakistan, and Mauritius. Some Muslim-majority countries like Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia have a higher percentage of women in national elected offices than the US, demonstrating that Muslim women can and do hold positions of power and influence. Muslims worship a moon god. Muslims worship the same one god as Christians and Jews, emphasizing monotheism. The crescent moon, often associated with Islam, is a cultural symbol, not a religious one. It has historical significance but does not reflect Islamic theology. The Arabic term Allah means God and is used by Arab Christians as well. Therefore, Allah is the same God worshipped in Christianity and Judaism. The crescent moon symbol, found in some Islamic cultures, can be misleading. It's important to recognize that it holds no religious significance within the faith. Understanding this distinction helps clarify that Muslims do not worship a moon god. Islam is a recent religion. There is a misconception that Islam is a relatively new religion. In reality, Muslims believe that the essence of Islam, which means submission to the will of God, has been present since the time of Adam. Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, is considered the last in a line of prophets that includes Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. This lineage underscores the continuity of monotheistic faiths. Muslims view Islam as a continuation and culmination of previous revelations. The teachings of Islam are seen as part of a divine plan that has unfolded over millennia. Understanding this historical perspective dispels the myth that Islam is a recent development. It reveals the deep roots and ancient origins of the Islamic faith. Muslims do not believe in Jesus. Contrary to popular belief, Muslims hold Jesus, Isa in Arabic, in high regard. The Quran has an entire chapter dedicated to Mary, Maryam, Jesus' mother. It describes Jesus' miraculous birth, his teachings, and his miracles. While Muslims do not believe Jesus is divine, they respect him as one of God's mightiest messengers. Jesus is considered a significant prophet in Islam, much like Abraham and Moses. His role and message are honored and revered within the Islamic tradition. This recognition is a core component of Muslim faith and practice. Understanding this helps bridge gaps between Islam and other Abrahamic religions. All Muslim women have to fast during the month of Ramadan. Islam emphasizes moderation, balance, and equity, known as wasatiyya in Arabic. The Quran underscores this principle, stating in chapter 5, verse 6, Allah does not intend to make difficulty for you. This message of ease in religion is reiterated throughout the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, also highlighted this by saying, "This religion is easy, and no one makes the religion more difficult except that the religion will win over him." Consequently, not all Muslim women are required to fast during Ramadan. Exceptions are made for those who are pregnant, nursing, menstruating, ill, or traveling. These exceptions ensure that the practice of fasting does not impose undue hardship. Islam's teachings prioritize health and well-being, reflecting the broader principle of ease in religious observance. After exploring the truths about Islam, check out our next video on debunking misconceptions on Buddhism. Buddhism, like Islam, has many misconceptions that need addressing. This video will dive into common myths and provide accurate insights. Learn more about the practices and teachings of Buddhism. Don't miss out on expanding your understanding of this peaceful religion.